So, some of you guys have been requesting that I drop a video on my NFL playoff predictions as well as my NFL end of the season award predictions, and I initially wasn't even planning on making this video, but since a lot of you guys requested it, why not? So first I'm gonna start off with who I think is gonna win their respective divisions and who I think is also gonna make it as a wild card team. Let's go ahead and start off with the NFC, and we're gonna start off with the NFC West. This one's clear as day. The Rams are straight up gonna win this division. I have them going 13-3, and second in the division, I see the Seahawks finishing at 7-9, and of course, obviously missing out of the playoffs. And the Cardinals and Niners, they're just a mess. I don't see them doing anything. I have them both at 13-3. Let's move on to the NFC East. I got the Eagles coming back and winning that division. I think if Washington would have stayed healthy, I think they probably would have ended up winning the division. But you guys know Trent Williams, their left tackle, is missing a few games. I think both of their guards are missing or out for the season. So you can't really win like that. Offensively, they're already a pretty bad team. Take away them and Paul Richardson. Yeah, I think the Eagles come back. Cowboys, I don't know what's wrong over there in Dallas, man. I think they need a head coaching change. I don't see Dallas finishing even 500. I have them at 7-9. And the Giants, we all know they're a huge mess, probably the biggest mess in the NFC. Now let's move on to the AFC North. Now look, I just refuse to believe an Aaron Rodgers-led Packers team will miss out of the playoffs. I just do not see it. I think the Packers win their division somehow and make the playoffs. But don't get it wrong, I also have the Vikings making the playoffs because I also think they're a pretty good team. And the Bears, I see them being an outside looking in team. If they would have had one more win, they probably would have made the playoffs. But I have them at 9-7 on the outside looking in. And the Lions, I have them at 5-11. Unfortunately, I don't know what's wrong with the Lions. And I like the Lions, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge Darius Slay fan. He's probably my favorite non-Texans player. But I don't think Matt Patricia is the guy for Detroit. So, yeah, I have the Lions doing terrible down the stretch. Now for the NFC South. I have two teams coming out of that division, and that's the New Orleans Saints having the number 1 seed at 14-2. I think they lose one more game down the stretch against Carolina, and I have Carolina going 11-5 and having that number 6 seed. Atlanta finishes 10-6, and unfortunately this year 10-6 is not going to be enough to get the Falcons into the playoffs. And the Buccaneers, I have them finishing 5-11. I just don't think they're a very good team. So, yeah, New Orleans and Carolina get into the playoffs. Now let's move over to the AFC. Let's start off with the AFC West. I have the Chargers winning the division at 14-2. That's right, I think the Chargers win out the rest of their schedule. It's not going to be easy, but I think they can do it. They're a very talented team, and they're doing this without Joey Bosa. So once Joey Bosa comes back, they're going to be an even better team. The Chiefs, I have them at 13-3, getting the number 5 seed. So I don't really think the Chiefs are going to fall off, but I do think they're going to lose some games down the stretch, because that's what the Chiefs do once they get to that November, December, late season. And the Broncos 6-10. The Raiders, I have them not winning a game the rest of the way. They're just an all-around mess. And if you watched their last week game against the Niners, they gave up, man. The Raiders are done. Now let's move on to the AFC East. I mean, the Patriots are the team to beat there. I have them getting the number 2 seed in the AFC. The Dolphins, I think, finished 8-8. The Jets finished 5-11, and the Bills are a very bad team, and I have them finishing at 3-13. Let's move on to the AFC North. I have the Steelers winning the division at 10-5-1. I think they'll lose a few games down the stretch. I'm not too sure about the Steelers, honestly. I have the Bengals going 9-7, the Ravens 8-8, and the Browns being the Browns. Let's go to the AFC South now. I have the Texans finishing at 11-5, the Titans and Jaguars both finishing 8-8, and the Colts finishing at 7-9. I think the Texans run away with that division. I don't think anyone's gonna catch them. But yeah, those are my predictions for the division. Now let's go on to the playoffs. Let's go to the wild card weekend. So we have KC going to Pittsburgh. Again, KC, I don't know what it is. Andy Reid led teams. They choke in the playoffs, and I have this being no different. I think Pittsburgh defeats the Chiefs, which is one of the better teams in the AFC, and the Kansas City Andy Reid thing continues. Bengals at Texans on wild card weekend. I actually see this happening for the 3rd time, and I see the same outcome. Houston wins. They beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati kind of just sneaks into the playoffs. Houston takes care of them. Minnesota at Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia wins this one. I think they're going to be a better team at that point, and they're at home. Carolina at Green Bay. I think Carolina goes up to Green Bay and beats the Packers. Now, the divisional round. We got Houston traveling to New England. Unfortunately, I know we're all Texans fans, but I see the journey ending here again in New England, like in previous years. New England beats Houston. Pittsburgh travels to LA to take on the Chargers. I have the Chargers winning that one. Philly goes to LA to take on the Rams. I think the Rams win that one. And then Carolina travels to New Orleans to take on the Saints. I have New Orleans taking that one. And then we got the conference championship games. New England at the Chargers. I have the Chargers beating New England and going to the Super Bowl. And then we got the LA Rams going to New Orleans. And I have New Orleans taking care of the Rams how they did in the regular season. So, in the Super Bowl, I have the LA Chargers versus the New Orleans Saints. This one can go either way, honestly. But I'm gonna go ahead and take the Chargers. LA wins a Super Bowl, but it's not the team that everybody thought was gonna go to the Super Bowl or was gonna win the Super Bowl. Everybody in LA is, on the Rams. And to me, something funny would be if the team LA pays no attention to is the team that ends up winning it. Because I do think the Chargers are a very, very talented team. I definitely think they can win down the stretch. I mean, they have a dominant run game. They have a very deadly trio of weapons. You can even throw in 4 in there. And you got Phillip Rivers, who isn't scared to make any throw. He's aggressive, and in the playoffs, that's really going to pay off. And I think their defense, even though it's been underperforming lately, I think it'll come alive here late down the stretch of the season. As for the awards, though, MVP, to me, it's between a few people, man. Well, usually it's 5 people, and I have it either beating Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Todd Gurley, or Phillip Rivers. As of right now, it's probably going to be Pat Mahomes, but I see him cooling down the stretch, and I see Phillip Rivers winning it. Defensive Player of the Year, it's either J.J. Watt or Aaron Donald. Some people would say Khalil Mack, but Khalil Mack hasn't played the last 2 games, and he's really slowed down. So, I'm going to go ahead and probably give it to J.J. Watt. Offensive Player of the Year, it's going to be Todd Gurley. You know, let's be real here. Comeback Player of the Year, to me, it's either going to be J.J. Watt or Andrew Luck. If Watt wins Defensive Player of the Year, they'll give it to Andrew Luck. If Watt doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year, they'll probably give it to J.J. Watt due to the fact that J.J. would have won more games. Rookie of the Year, I got Saquon Barkley. Defensive Rookie of the Year is either Derwin James or Bradley Chubb, but I think they'll give it to Derwin James because the Broncos aren't going anywhere, and I see the Chargers making a deep playoff run. So, yeah, those are my predictions for the playoffs, and those are my predictions for the NFL awards. So, feel free to disagree. Feel free to comment down below your opinions on how the playoffs will play out, and also comment down below your own predictions for the awards. Anyways, with that being said, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.